Are you sure that you are ready for healing? Inner work is some deep work, and if you are not ready or unfamiliar with what this requires, then get ready. This video, I'm specifically designating to explain the 3 phases that I see clients go through when they open up Pandora's box and say, yep, turn on the lights, I want to see how I participate in the dysfunction. The function and the dysfunction is now expired, I'm ready to level up. So if you're interested, tune into this video and let's get started. Welcome back. My name is Elena and this is Elena Talks, where I weave spiritual principles with psychological concepts, and I hopefully try to explain things that seem so abstract and mysterious in very practical ways so that you can get on track with inner work. So in this video, I got my notes as always. I've got the concept of what healing truly requires. First of all, you can never force healing. I remember working way back in the day with high school kids, and I just tried to force healing and try to encourage them, come on guys, there's a better way of living, you gotta get out of this drama, and I was so passionate and young. I was almost forcing something that if someone is not ready, you could either traumatize them, if I could say, even violate their free will, I suppose you can say that, or the point is, you just cannot force healing. Either a person consents and receives, or otherwise you will be exhausted and burn yourself out trying to give gold to someone who doesn't even know what that is and is not even looking for that right now. So when a person signs up for counseling or coaching or any kind of inner work, this signals to me that this person is ready to be vulnerable, to be open and honest, ready to receive, to listen, ready to explore what's going on, to have a very honest, deep dive into the most sacred pieces or sacred areas of their soul to figure out what is going on in order to heal. And so you cannot even go through a healing process if you don't feel like there's anything A, you need to heal in, or B, you can possibly improve in. I think a lot of times people misunderstand or even underestimate the, how do I say this, the weight that your mindset is. Let me back up. I think people underestimate how much you have to commit to this journey and really believe that you will find and receive your answer. Because again, if you come in as the client in any kind of teacher situation and you are trying to make the teacher, counselor, mentor, person convince you why you need to heal, you are requiring that they kind of force you, or they're going to do the work for you, or you think you could just walk in the office or online session and just bounce without you doing active work, then again, that is not something you can force, and you are misunderstanding what healing is. Inner work is a unique process where you go into the innermost being of your soul, your thoughts, your emotions, and get very, very honest about the current condition, the current program, what's not working, taking responsibility and leveling up. And that's why when, again, I receive clients who are truly ready to go through this process, I treat these people and I look at them as complete heroes. People who I have deep respect, because it takes courage to come in humility and say, something's not working out, will you look at this? It's think about when you were in school and you had a paper that you wrote for your teacher, and it's oh, it's just the rough draft, don't worry. And it's this is I didn't do this right, I'm still fixing that, we start to justify, we're embarrassed, we're feeling like someone's gonna judge us for our work. In reality, a lot of times the teacher's very happy that someone even did some work, put some effort, reflected, and put something on a table. I always tell, from my students to my clients, any good solid teacher or mentor is more than happy and excited to work with you, to receive whatever that you have. They're excited to get into it, and they want to give you more than you can possibly give. In fact, that's a spiritual godly principle. Whatever you put down on the table, God's always going to multiply and give you back more. You have to first give something. So let's kind of go into it. The first step is humility and honesty. You have to almost be in this position of, if I could say it like this, humiliation. That's not to say you have to be embarrassed or judged or ashamed. No, you have to accept the fact that you are a human. right? Humility, humiliation, human. Like, this is just who I am. I'm not pretending what I'm not. I'm not here trying to like come in with clout and finesse or whatever. Here I am. This is who I am. Your raw, most vulnerable level. Like, you recognize you are a human being who has the same imperfection and pimples and issues and bad habits and bad breaths, etc. You are just like any other human in its most raw condition. But what are you struggling with? And so when you start to get honest with what your real thoughts are, what your really feeling, what emotions you're feeling, not suppressing, not lying, because again, you're never lying to the counselor or the teacher or the whoever. You're always going to be lying to yourself if you're dishonest. Getting real about, like, especially when I work with people who actually have real questions about God, like, not I know God loves me, God is good. Yeah, yeah, that person's okay. Yeah, no, get honest. I'm mad at God. How could he have allowed this person to treat me like that? Why is it that no matter how much I pray, it's almost like God never hears me? Like, I always feel so overlooked, and then I get pissed, and then I don't want to talk to God. When people just stop playing church or stop pretending like they're like playing, right, being a Christian or rich or this or that, and just saying, hey, here are the true contents of my heart, good, bad, and ugly. This is how I think. I feel like I'm a loser. I feel like I can't succeed. I feel like I'm always failing. I'm always mad at myself. I start to feel overwhelmed, and I start to just collapse or dissociate or be distracted, and I don't get anything done. And then I feel even more mad and stupid. I know I'm getting kind of raw, but just like, this is kind of the point of counseling. Like, no one needs you to sugarcoat. Like, when I am at the receiving end of any kind of coach or counselor, I already know what the more I put on the table of my honesty and current issues and situations, the more this person can help me. But if I'm coming in the office and I'm like, I'm okay, I'm good, well, then what am I here for? I'm fine, but then why am I here? And so the more we can, again, open up in our hearts and just get really honest and humble about where we're at, we can finally like receive. So the next step is awareness and responsibility. This is where people start to get irritated. This is where clients are like, oh, like ever since I started counseling, like everything, or coaching or whatever, everything seems worse. But is it? Is it possible that the lights are finally on and you're seeing things for what it is? Again, no more hiding, no more sugarcoating, no more suppressing. You're seeing it for what it is. You're finally gaining awareness that it's not just your husband or your friend or your mom or dad or etc. who, let's say, is being mean to you or violating your boundaries or like not listening to you. You're the one that actually has some kind of like participation in this dynamic. Maybe you're the one who doesn't communicate your needs and expects people to read your mind, and then you get all huffy and puffy about it. Maybe you're the one that actually is the one breaking your own boundaries because you don't even have any to begin with. Maybe you're the one that someone has asked for your opinion about something or asked for, I don't know, some kind of participation, and you're the one who, didn't even share anything and expect someone else to figure it out. My point is, when you start to understand the dynamics that are being played out in your role, as I've said in a previous video, your function in the dysfunction, where are you the common denominators? What are your bad habits? I understand, growing up, maybe that was survival, that made sense, you had to be the way you are. But now you're not liking it? Okay, well, what are you doing? Especially as the woman, I do believe females have such incredible power to shift things and then have the world kind of adjust around that. But the worst thing you can do is point your finger and say, look what you did, you made me get triggered, you made me mad, and as soon as anyone talks like that, you made me because of you. You've given all power to the other person, and like, what are you supposed to do? You're right, there is no hope. How can you change? You have no control because you're at the mercy, aka you're a victim of whatever people do and say. Whereas maybe your triggers and issues, your core wounds, all that stuff, that intricate program within you is within you. And maybe it has less to do about the other person as much as it's you. I hate to say it, but actually it's the most encouraging and empowering thing I can say. It's you. In my previous video, your responsibility to heal your triggers, I go into exactly why you, again, pointing your finger at everyone else just makes you continue the cycle. You're the victim and you're never going to get any kind of resolution. I remember I saw this one TikTok. This one woman was sitting in her car and she's like, man, I just went to therapy and I have been complaining about my aunt, my uncle, my friends, my boyfriend, my this, my that, my ex, my nana, da 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 da. And you know what I found out? I came in there to blow some steam and let everyone know about them. I found out I'm the problem. So humbling when we start to recognize, again, how we participate in something. And I do believe education is super important. Like my polyvagal theory video, do watch that if you want to get into the science of it. But I go into like the different fight, flight, freeze methods. And what happens with that, hold on, oops. What happens is, sorry, someone was calling me. What happens is, like, it's so good to know. I had a client who was like, oh my gosh, I feel so embarrassed, but sometimes, you know, when I'm feeling angry, I start to yell or I cuss, or I'll even, oh, I'm embarrassed to say this, I just want to hit the other person. And I said, listen, we're taking judgment away. We're trying to look at data. What's going on? All you're telling me is your nervous system is going into fight mode, which is sympathetic nervous system mode. And here's what this manifests and look like. And when you understand what's happening with your nervous system, then you can go back into that ventral mode. I know there's a lot of like little different details of things that I help clients come down to the state of peace and calm and control. But again, my point is, if you think you're going to go into counseling, therapy, coaching, whatever healing work that people do, expecting the rest of the world to change, then, you know, you don't need a tattletale on anyone. You can actually just come in and do your part in bettering yourself so that you can be the person you want and be the match in the new dynamic in relationships that you desire. So again, this is a lot of times where clients are like, oh, my life got worse. No, it's not worse. You're starting to, like, the lights are on, you're seeing it for what it is. And in fact, a side note, anytime I have clients, especially like high school kids back in the day, I remember one girl, bless her heart, she came in and complained about every single person in the world. And as soon as we started to figure out her dynamic, her participation, her stuff, she's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm like, what do you mean you don't want to do this anymore? I feel like I am not ready to take this responsibility, and I just don't like what I'm seeing about myself. And so there's always this pivot. Okay, so then do you want to like pretend like you can now go in the door? You can't see what you've seen. Do you want to go back and be in denial and pretend you didn't see anything? It's going to be worse for you because now you're going to feel guilty because you do see how you participate in this mess. Or do you want to finally level up, especially while you're young, and do something about it and start changing? And sometimes I have clients that leave, and that's okay. You can't force healing. They'll be back when they're ready. It's not my job to be everyone's Lord and Savior. So anyways, the next step, this is the courage and application stage, is what I call it. And I get it. It's always like circular. It's cyclical. Like things kind of come up in different times. But anyways, the next phase I would say is courage and application. It's one thing to know now how you partake in a situation. You're the one who pursues, or you're the distancer in a relationship when there's conflict, or you go into fight mode and you start to like bully in these ways. Okay. Now that we know certain things, and these dynamics and whatnot will come out in like sessions, now you get to take responsibility and accountability and start to actually do things different. I mean, it's even Bible. Faith without works is dead. If you believe you're a new creation and you're changing, you're going to do things different. So that means you're going to break old habits. You are going to start to expand your nervous system by practicing things slowly. This is not an overnight thing. If it took you, let's say, 30 years to be programmed a certain way, and now you're updating your life, or your code, as I like to say it, it's going to take some time, and that's okay, as long as, again, like let's say instead of you blowing up like that or making an impulsive decision like that, maybe you have like, 5 seconds, you take a break and even recognize what's going on before you get swept with, whatever impulsivity is coming up. And then it's like a muscle. Now you have 10 minutes to process something and you make slightly a better decision. It's just like, it's no different than, think of a baby, like them holding a bottle, or them digesting new food, or them being potty trained. It's the same thing if we're applying to spiritual life, and psychology, it takes time. And telling someone you're a failure because they messed up after a try, that's not, no. The failing is when you mess up, you make a mistake, and you stay down. That's failure, okay? That's self-fulfilling prophecy. What we're doing is trial and error and expanding our muscles just like we do in any sport, playing a musical instrument, communicating with people, problem solving, being present, not yelling at them, not expecting people to read your mind, but actually you identifying what you desire and communicating, and the list goes on. And so again, as you step out of your comfort zone, confidence isn't something that you magically just wake up with. You build it, right? You want to feel pretty, you want to feel fun, you want to like get out, do public speaking. Like no one is requesting that you stand in front of an arena and do all of that. It's the little things that once they add up, it's like, wow, look at all this progress. It's the same thing. And I try to encourage all my clients and myself. It's like if you're flying a plane, you can like turn the wheel by 1 degree. And that seems like nothing, especially in the moment. Give it some time. Okay. After a couple hours or miles, you'll be like, wow, how did I end up way over here? Yeah, because you started to do something different now. So again, you can't force this stuff. You can't blame. Like, I look at healing as a synonymous concept with growth. You can only really grow when you are finally healing. And so I want to just share this video, what healing really requires. This is not something that you sign up and expect someone's going to pour some magic dust on you and it's going to force change. This is not something even I say to Christian people. We're not asking for a miracle, because even if you get that miracle, let's say you got a certain job miraculously. Let's say you were miraculously out of debt. Let's say you're miraculously married. That's wonderful, but do you have the skills now to sustain your healing or your healed state? And if you don't, then you're gonna fail twice as hard, and it's just gonna be worse. So in my opinion, like, let's stop pretending like we can have these magic spells or skip healing. No, everyone has to go through it at certain points. It's a matter of who's ready and which generation in their lineage. I know, like for myself, as a counselor and coach, I take a lot of responsibility in me being also the student, the receiver in the healing position. And the more I have that, the more I can give back and help other people. So, excuse me. So I hope this was a video that just kind of practically explained, are you ready for healing? Besides you committing with your maybe finances, right? What, like all the resources you really need to do to commit, resources such as time, money, your schedule, energy. Sometimes it's exhausting. Like when you're in, you got to be in. But like last time I checked, it's only like the desperate and hungry people who actually find food and get fed. So if you are ready to up-level your healing process, check out my talk shop. I look at it more as like a coaching kind of group where you have exclusive monthly it's a subscription. You have, you have content all around psychology. I go way more personal and vulnerable, and I really lay out a lot of the stuff that I talk about. Q&As, I get to answer you guys' very specific questions. And then if you want to do an individualized session with me, a coaching session, that is an exclusive member rate that you could experience in addition. So if you're ready for healing, check out my talk shop. It's linked in the link below, and make sure you check out my next video. Like, subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.